How's it going, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about the Conceiving Hands and Phantom Seer, so it's just going to be a discussion, kind of theorizing what they could do. We know a little bit about Rain Man, and we know a little bit about Puppet Master. We've seen Ensemble, but we have no idea what he can do. And we've only heard the names of Thumbelina Ogre and Omen. So they are complete theories, headcanon. We have nothing confirmed about them at all, not even appearance. So, with that being said, we're going to start it off with Rain Man, and the first thing I want to say about him is, and I'm going to talk about this with every Conceiving Hand, does he have one of Senju's arms just like Kanzuki had, or do all of the Conceiving Hands have different body parts? There's two ways of thinking about it, obviously. You can go with the fact that they're all called Conceiving Hands. Hand being attached to the arm, meaning every single one of them have one of Senju's arms. That would make sense because we saw Senju fight. She was just using like balls of arms and hands. So she has a ton of arms to give away to everybody. It's not just like, oh, Kanzuki had her right arm or her left arm. He had one of her thousands of other arms. So she could have just given every single one of them an arm. But where that starts to break down a little bit is the fact that Kanzuki had an arm, and you could tell it was Senju's arm, or at least not his arm. Rain Man, Puppet Master, and Ensemble, they don't have an arm that looks like that. So that's where you can kind of go with the whole, okay, everybody has a different body part. Now, Rain Man was kind of part of the reason I thought about this, because he has a very strange looking mouth. Well, mouths produce saliva, which is a liquid akin to water. So would he have Senju's mouth? Is that why it looks weird? I have no idea. That was kind of my first thought. Maybe he has Senju's mouth. Obviously, when I talk about the Conceiving Hands and what body parts they might have, that's with the other side, not the side being they all have an arm. If it's they all have an arm, well then we know the answer for all of them. But it's more fun to think about what other things it could have. So Rain Man, I had mouth for the first one just because of the aesthetic look of it. The other one was one of her eyes, or her eyes, because, well, tear ducts. Where tears come from. Tears, once again, a liquid, just like water. So I think those are probably, or it could be something as small as her tongue. Like, it could be something little like that. So that's kind of what I got for Rain Man. I couldn't really think of anything else it might be. Other than those, I feel like with water powers, it'd have to be somewhere where a liquid comes from on the human body. We're not going, no, up. Get your mind out of the gutter. I mean, mine was there too. Oh, we're going to move on from that one. Anyway, that kind of gets past the body parts, and into what Rain Man can do, we've seen two things. One, he can use water to attack. We saw him blast a hole in Kanzuki. At least I'm going to assume he blasted the hole in Kanzuki and not the little Tupac doll that the Puppet Master had of Kanzuki. So yeah, I'm going to assume Rain Man made that hole himself, which would just be like, okay, water ball or water stream. Pfft, anime attack. We've seen it in pretty much any anime, manga, video game where somebody uses water to attack people. We've seen that. It's basic. The other thing we saw, I did not expect to see, magic water Recon orb. He can just look into this ball of water and just see a different location. That's useful as hell. Not a combat ability. Don't care. What are the requirements for this? Does he have to set something up prior to being able to use surveillance on it? Does it just have to be somewhere where water is present? Can he look anywhere as long as he knows where he wants to look? Obviously, it can't just be like, where are the shamans located? That would be a little much. Okay, at least I'm thinking it's not that. I would hope. That would, like I said, that would be a little much. I'm going to kind of go with the assumption that as long as there is water there and he knows the area he's trying to look at, he can look at it. So he probably knows the dollhouse. It's the Puppet Master's place. One of the other Conceiving Hands. He's probably been there before. So as long as there's water in the general vicinity, and it could be something maybe as small as like morning dew on the trees. Wake up in the morning, little water droplets on the trees. Possibly he could use one of those just because we were looking down at the dollhouse, or at least he was looking down at the dollhouse from the point of view of the orb. I'm going with that. Has to be water there. Or he just sends out another orb that he can send floating through the air, and then he just links the two orbs and looks from one to the other. Outside of that, we haven't seen anything from him. So are we going to go with like water bending levels of water manipulation? Like he can just take the water out of the cup and just start flowing it around in the sky? I don't think so. I'm going to go with no on that one. I'm going to go with more of he has specific things he can do with the water. Obviously some kind of manipulation. But I don't think it's going to be like a free-flowing water bending kind of ability to control it. I think it's going to be more of make a water ball, shoot a beam of water, shoot a stream of water to cut something. Things like that I think will be more of his combat abilities with it. Possibly being able to turn his body into water, kind of like a Logia from One Piece would be able to turn their body into their element, and attacks could pass right through it. That would be extremely useful. One other thing he might be able to do is use the water in a sort of healing way. That's obviously been something that's been attributed to water for all of time as healing properties. I mean, look at the Fountain of Youth. It's a water fountain. You step in and it gives you eternal youth. That's about as healing as it freaking gets. So that could be something he could do with it. I kind of doubt it. I don't see the Conceiving Hands having a whole lot of like healing abilities or like your typical good guy kind of thing. I feel like they're going to be more focused on bad things that they can do. So yeah, outside of that, I don't really see what else I could really think of when it comes to the Rain Man. I don't want to get too crazy out there with different water abilities I could think of. I think he might be a little bit more basic than some of the other ones. Especially Puppet Master. I'm going to kind of get into that and why I think hers is going to be a very wide arching umbrella of abilities that I'm at least going to attribute back to her. So with her and the whole, what part of Senju does she have? She had a veil over her face and kind of blacked out eyes almost, it looked like. So eyes were the first thing I thought of with her. I know I said that as like a secondary thing for Rain Man, but I went with mouth first for him, eyes first for Puppet Master, just because of the aesthetic look. Now that I think about that, Rain Man and Puppet Master, their aesthetic look kind of led me to what I was thinking, so maybe I should pull back on the reading the book by the cover thing, but why not? We'll roll with it. So eyes maybe. I don't know if we're going to get into like very small, like individual little body parts. Like she has Senju Doji's fingers. Fingers to control the puppets, stuff like that. How do I, my god, I think that's like 3 videos in a row I smacked that thing. Sooner or later I will learn. Probably here in about like a year and a half I'll finally stop whacking the hell out of it. But anyway, yeah. Maybe I need strings so I can control this damn thing to move it out of my way when I need to. But could you get down to like fingers and things like that? I doubt it. That would almost seem a little silly to me. Like, oh, I got Senju's fingers and now I'm so much more powerful. It just doesn't really hit the way like a whole arm does. Or like a mouth, or, I mean, your eyes are like a small little thing, but they're a very powerful organ for your body. It's what allows you to see. It's one of your most powerful senses. So, eyes are, while small, a big deal, unlike an individual finger. Granted, I don't want to lose any of my fingers. I like playing video games. I need my fingers. Don't need them. Want them. But you lose a finger, okay, I'm going to go on with life just fine. It's not a big deal. So yeah, but I don't know. Puppet Master is a tough one outside of like the fingers to control the puppets, or maybe like just the hand rather than a whole arm. And then given eyes due to the veil and kind of the blacked out eyes of her. So yeah, I'm kind of going to go with those for Puppet Master, and then obviously the arm, yada yada yada. I'm going to quit talking about that. On to the abilities, though, which is where I said this is going to get a little weird due to the whole arching umbrella, and why I'm glad I didn't make this video until after the most recent chapter. Because we just got to the dollhouse, and we just in this chapter saw some interesting things happen that I didn't think were going to happen. So, spoilers, obviously. Iori and Riku both just started shrinking after Riku was clutching this doll and didn't notice, and then they noticed, and then, there they go. Okay, when I think Puppet Master and like controlling puppets to do your bidding, I don't think of the ability to shrink other people. Now, some people might say, well, that's the doll's ability, or that's... Okay, if it's the doll's ability, I'm giving that to the Puppet Master because who's controlling the dolls? Who's giving the dolls abilities and powers? Without the Puppet Master, a doll is just a doll. A doll can't shrink somebody. So if the doll is doing that to them, that's still the Puppet Master's ability in my eyes. So shrinking people, the doll threw Iori and Riku in a cage and ran off with them. When the doll put them in there, Iori couldn't use his ability. So we have people shrinking. We have ability nullification. Obviously we're going to go with the ability to control puppets and make them animatomic. Give them life, so to speak, and abilities. Can she control and manipulate people? Can she do kind of like, thinking back to Naruto again, the Puppet Master Jutsu in Naruto. People have puppets, use the finger strings to control them. Can she do that to a person? Or can she control the dolls in that way, like specifically manipulate it to use it to attack for her while she stands back from the fight? I would assume that's probably... Ow, I just kicked the whole table. My God, what is wrong with me today? Anyway, I need to stop doing this after I get home from work, I swear to God. I need to do this when I wake up in the morning. But I would assume the Puppet Master is going to use dolls and puppets to fight for them in an actual fight. I wouldn't think the Puppet Master would be somebody who's like, I'm really good at jujitsu. Like, wait, what? Hang on. Did not expect you to be a hands-on fighter at all. But you really never know. So, one other thing I want to talk about with them and their abilities is those little Tupac dolls. The doll that looked like Kanzuki, the doll that everybody was carrying around outside of the dollhouse when we first got there, and you had that girl looking at it really, really creepy, like I did in the region. Weird as hell. Don't like it. What is the purpose of those? How do they work? What the hell's going on there? So, the one with Kanzuki, it had the same hole that he had in his chest. I talked about this in the review as well. Did Rain Man cause the hole in the doll, and there's an effect between the doll and the person being linked that causes it to reciprocate the damage to the individual? Or did Rain Man hit Kanzuki and the link cause the damage to be reciprocated on the doll? Either way, it's either a terrifying ability, or two, it's neat. The neat one is the damage being reciprocated to the doll through some kind of spiritual link or whatever kind of link there may be. That's kind of neat. And it could lead to some kind of out of the box things coming down later. I could go down a whole list of ways that could be incorporated to where you just don't touch on it for a long time and bring up, oh no, remember that there is a link to the doll, and now I can use the doll to whatever. I find it much more likely that the damage was done to Kanzuki and not the doll, mainly because that's more impressive. But if it was done to the doll and then reciprocated to Kanzuki like a voodoo doll, that is absolutely terrifying. And that is not something you want to mess with. Like, you do not want to get a Tupac doll made of you. And going along with them, is it possible that all those people that have had Tupac dolls made in their image, is it possible for the Puppet Master to have a duplicate of all those dolls and use those to be able to control all of those people? Because if that is a possibility, then you got one hell of a ransom on your hands. You have so many hostages that can just be going about their daily lives, and you can hold all of their lives in your hand and use that as weight against the shamans. I don't think that's something they can do, mainly because of the fact that what are the shamans going to do at that point? Just let half of the entire city die? Probably not. And I don't know how you're going to stop somebody from just squishing $30 at once, especially when you're as powerful as a conceiving hand. Even Conceiving would have been able to crush $30 at once in his hand, and we've been told that he's nothing compared to any of the others. So that's a little much. What else could we be using these for? Because I doubt they have no purpose. I mean, maybe it's possible. Maybe they just want money. I don't know why you would need money when your boss is a phantom. What's a phantom going to use money on? I don't know. Is it possible a way to drain energy from the people that have the Tupac dolls? So, obviously, it would be a minimal amount. But is it possible that people having a Tupac doll that is linked to their essence and their being, having that in their possession, slowly gives a little bit of energy to the puppet master over time? And with this being like a social media fad that a ton of people are into, that little bit of energy really starts to snowball when you have that many people sending it back. That could also be really powerful because, I mean, you have an endless stream of energy to just spam energy and abilities at people when you're fighting. And before anybody goes, bro, you're thinking too far into this. Like I said, this is discussion, this is theories, we know nothing, this is all for fun. I'm just having a fun time with it because I love the series, and so far I'm liking the conceiving hands. They seem to be extremely varied, which I enjoy very much. I never want a villain group to have villains that feel the same. So, yeah, this is why I say Puppet Master, while from just namesake would seem like, oh, that one's going to be the most simple one. What we've seen so far, if you attribute all of the things that have happened inside the dollhouse to abilities that trickle down from the Puppet Master, anything's on the table for that one. We got Shrinking and Ability Nullification. Now, I guess they can just be, well, that's part of controlling people. You can control their size, you can control what they can do. But once you consider controlling people that broad of a spectrum, once again, that means the Puppet Master can do so many different things. It's one where you can take it and just be base level, low-hanging fruit, simple, or you can do some mental gymnastics and some writing gymnastics and make it very just shotgunned out there with all kinds of different stuff that you can do. So that's why I wanted to talk about the Puppet Master specifically in this video, and one of the reasons I wanted to make the video because I just had so much to talk about with it after this last chapter. So happy I waited. So happy. Next one we're going to talk about. Another one we haven't seen. We're actually going to save Ensemble for last because in the panel where we were given all of their names, we had Rain Man and Puppet Master up top with their images that we've already seen. Thumbelina Ogre, who we're talking about next, love the name. And then Omen and then Ensemble on the bottom with his portrait that we've actually seen. And he was the biggest person. And why put him by himself and Rain Man and Puppet Master together up top if he's not stronger than the other two? That panel leads me to believe that Ensemble is the strongest and the leader of the Conceiving Hands, so he will be last. So we're moving on to Thumbelina Ogre, and the reason I'm doing her before Omen is because I have a little bit of an idea of what they might be doing with that character just from the name. Now, Thumbelina is the big giveaway name here. If anybody doesn't know, which I would not be surprised, I only remember the name and had to look this up. Thumbelina is a movie from way, way back. It's an old movie about a very, very tiny little woman, size of a thumb. Thumbelina. So, Thumbelina Ogre, Thumbelina being a very small woman, could Thumbelina not shrink other people, shrink her own size? Or is Thumbelina small to start with? Ogre. Can she increase her size? Ogres are typically thought to be very large and very strong. So we're going to take that in both directions. Can she shrink herself to the size of Thumbelina and grow herself to the size of an ogre? Can she just shrink herself to the size of Thumbelina, but has the physical strength of an ogre? Maybe being the most physically strong one of all the conceiving hands. Kind of like Uvogin in Hunter x Hunter. He is the physically strongest Phantom Troop member, but Crollo would smack him in a fight. Crollo would wipe the floor with Uvogin. But arm wrestling, Uvogin's winning. All day, every day. Is that what we're getting with Thumbelina Ogre? Is that where the ogre comes in, or is it a size thing? I kind of want to lead toward the side of ogre once again being a size thing, because Thumbelina, I'm thinking, is going to be a size thing, because the only reference for the name Thumbelina, really that I know of, is the movie Thumbelina. So I'm going to go with my guess is she can shrink down to the size of Thumbelina and grow to the size of an ogre, or anywhere in between, including her normal body size. However, you can get kind of interesting with it, with combining these things. Is she maybe a very tiny person? Like, super, super tiny. We've already seen crazy things in this series. Don't tell me there can't be a person-phantom hybrid that is naturally the size of a thumb. Don't tell me it can't happen. No, I refuse to believe that anything can't happen in this universe after what I've already seen. This is not a grounded story, guys. It's not a grounded story at all. So, yeah, could she possibly have the normal size of Thumbelina? And ogre means she can just grow? Or then obviously shrink back down to her normal size? Or is it a very tiny person, but surprisingly very strong? So Thumbelina, a very tiny individual, very non-threatening, wouldn't think there's a lot to it. But then ogre, surprisingly, this little itty bitty thumb person just grabs your big toe and yeet, just throws you way up in the air. I don't know. Either way, I like thinking about it. So, could she have Senju's thumb? Is Thumbelina just a complete diversion? And it's going to be something so stupid as the name Thumbelina was given to them as a conceiving hand? Because I'm guessing all of these names were given to them as their conceiving hand names. I doubt these were these people's names before they were conceiving hands. So can this just be something to throw us off and make us think this is going to be a shrink grow thing? Or at least throw me off and think that, or people who know what Thumbelina is. And really they were just given Senju's thumb. That would be absolutely hilarious. I would prefer for that to be correct and my actual guess to be wrong. Because I would die laughing if that was the case. If they just had Senju's thumb. Not gonna happen, but it would be hilarious. Bear with me here. I'm having fun. I don't know what else Thumbelina would really have. Just from the name, it seems so straightforward of a name. Thumbelina and ogre. Two things you can look up and see exactly what they are. I don't know what else we would go with here. Like I said, this could just be an elaborate ruse to give an obvious name to make people think a certain thing and then just go complete opposite direction. I don't know, but I'm kind of hoping it's kind of like a shrink grow thing or a shrink return to normal size and really, really strong thing. That would be kind of neat. I would like that. Kind of give you an Ant-Man feel from Marvel. I would like that. I would like to see them all of a sudden just vanish from the page and everybody's like, are they super fast? Where did they go? And really they just shrunk down to that small and then ran up and grabbed their toe and just, well, shoe probably, and just suplexes them onto the ground. All of a sudden Yori just stand there, just, wait, what? Whoom! Just gets his head slammed into the concrete by this little itty bitty tiny thing. And they can just run up to his head, just punch him. That would be great. Just all of a sudden you have Yori sitting there on the ground, just, what the hell? Boom! I could see it now. It would be awesome. It would be so much fun. I would love it. So I'm kind of hoping it's just shrink for Thumbelina, really tiny, really strong for ogre. I hope I'm not being too dumb brain and just picking the low-hanging fruit with that one. One that has no low-hanging fruit, though, Omen. Now, I guess I did lie about that a little bit. There is a little bit of low-hanging fruit. Omens. I originally thought, before looking this up, omens were just like bad curses or bad things that happen to you or things that lead to bad luck or bad events. I was right in that half. There are also good omens. I did not know this. I thought omens were strictly bad. But something like, an easy example, finding a 4-leaf clover. We know that 4-leaf clovers are considered to be lucky, but the act of finding one is a good omen, a sign of good things to come. So omens are signs of things to come, either good or bad. Will omen just kind of place curses on people to reduce their luck or improve their luck? Kind of like a Baccarat situation from One Piece film Gold. If she touches people, she can give them incredibly bad luck to where they happen to slip on a banana peel or drop their cigarette and it catches their whole jacket on fire. Things like that. Or they can be super lucky and just hit the jackpot on every spin of, like, a slot machine. We could go with things like that. Outside of that, I don't really know where else you would take the name Omen in thinking of ideas. You could go anywhere from very specific omens that are very typical or very ancient and well known. You could just have all of the typical ones, like you have things with black cats and ladders and throwing salt over the shoulder and breaking mirrors, and you can just do all the really obvious things that cause bad luck. And as the fight progresses and they work through these stages of omens, things get tougher and tougher from an outside perspective, like things start happening that wouldn't normally happen. That would be an interesting way to take it, and it would leave it very open-ended to where, I mean, you could do anything you want with that, really. On the good omen side of things, though, could they be a good support fighter? So helping their team through good luck and good omens, setting them up for success while nerfing the other team and setting them up to fail. That would be really interesting, actually. I would really enjoy that, having good omens as support abilities and bad omens as more tactical and not so straightforward combat abilities. But with all that being said, we're finally down to our last conceiving hand. This is definitely the longest video I've done. This is probably going to be over 30 minutes. Finally, ensemble. What I'm assuming is going to be the main guy to, like I said, that graphic, him being at the bottom, kind of the biggest picture. I'm guessing him. Before I get into abilities, and I will state now that Thumbelina and Omen are not getting, like, body part ideas, because I can't even think anything for them when it comes to that. I haven't even seen them. Their names don't really give a whole lot away. Don't know anything about the abilities. So arms is, they get arms. Screw them. They're getting what Konski got. They ain't that special. Anyway, back to ensemble. I'm going to give one of the definitions for ensemble, and that might give us a little bit of an idea of what abilities he might have. One of the definitions for the word ensemble is a group of items viewed as a whole rather than individually. This could give us an idea of what he might be able to do. Say you have rubble around the battlefield. Say you're fighting in a building, somebody gets knocked through a wall, and you have all these individual pieces of rubble around the ground. Could ensemble use his ability to make all of those individual pieces attract very strongly to his opponent, basically turning them into projectiles in which every single one of them try to slam together around the enemy, making them one whole item instead of individual items being viewed as a whole, even though it's made up of individual pieces of rubble, and his opponent's possibly dead body at that point. That's one way we could take it. we could see him do it in more of a dismantling way. We could see him reverse that idea. So you're a whole being, and he can dissect you into the individual parts. Could this possibly be done kind of like Law from One Piece, where he can pop your arms off, but it's not like you're bleeding or anything. He didn't slice your arms off. He just made them separate from your actual body. Or I should say from the rest of your body. The arm is still your actual body. It's your arm. It's just not actually attached at the moment. Still fully functioning and everything, though. That would actually be kind of interesting. I would enjoy seeing things like that. You could do it both ways. You could have it be individual items to whole items to individual items. And yeah, that is my favorite idea for Ensemble, is going with that aspect of the word, because it's a very specific word that you don't hear very often. It's like a pack of musicians and that other definition I just gave you. You don't hear it very often at all. It doesn't mean a lot of different things. Very specific word. So naming him that, I feel like there has to be a reason why he has that name. I feel like it should probably link back to what he can do in some way. But yeah, my mind goes to all kinds of different directions when it comes to being able to make things whole or make things individual items out of a whole. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff with that, and that would have to be left to an author with a way more creative brain than me. Once again, I'm going to keep saying it, dumb brain. I ain't writing nothing. Anything I write's going to be garbage. And don't ask me to draw it either. That's going to be even worse. But yeah, so I'm going to stick with not Omen. God, I can't talk today. Like I said, I need to start doing this after I wake up, not after I go to work. Ensemble, I really enjoy the idea of him just taking that definition of the word and making it into a literal interpretation of his abilities and what he can do to people and or items. That would be really cool. Now, what are we going to do? Actually, ears. He's got Senju's ears. I'm running with it. The other definition, the much more common one I think people probably think of, is an ensemble. Think of like a group of people, a pack of musicians. Maybe he has a good ear for music. We're running with it. And if you guys don't like it, then go down in the comments, give me your own ideas of what body parts they got, because I love seeing the comments down there, boys. With that being said, we're getting out of here. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. I would love it so much. It really makes my day. You guys have no idea how much I love it when I see stuff like that. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Waiting for the next chapter, and I'll see you guys again when we're talking about Phantom Seer. I'm out. I'm going to let you guys get going. Hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you next time.